Welcome to Falling into 40 with Bailey and Jessica. Welcome back to Falling into 40 with Bailey and Jessica. We are back today. Woohoo!
Woo!
We're excited to be back and be with you. Last week, we really hit a heavy topic talking about the fentanyl crisis and all that entails. And again, it just kind of opened my eyes and made me really think.
Yes, it is something that is an issue, and it's not just an issue for certain areas. So if you didn't catch that episode, be sure and go back. We're not trying to be negative. We're not trying to focus on things that are negative, but we most definitely want to be realistic and aware of the things that are out there that can be put in front of our children's faces, our loved ones' faces, the things that lots of people are dealing with. We want to be aware of those things.
Well, and everything we talk about is about a season, and in our current season and the season our kids are in, things like that are things that we really do need to be paying attention to. So I think it's important.
Yes, absolutely. I think today we want to talk about something that is affecting all of us. And if you live in the United States of America, you should know about it. You should be paying attention. And that is inflation. And I was just kind of looking into this, Bailey. I was looking at previous years and what really caught my eye this year, just personally. And this, it might sound silly or dumb, whatever, but when I'm at the grocery store and I'm buying groceries, it just blows my mind at the prices that I'm paying for things that normally didn't cost that much. And it's insane. And you're seeing it at restaurants, of course. You're seeing it everywhere. But for me, when I'm at the grocery store, it's just, I can't believe it. Mm-hmm. It's where it really, really gets me. I just wanted to make sure that everybody really understood what inflation, what it is. Yeah. And simply put, it's a rise in prices over time. The cost of everything from commodities, such as food, housing, to services, such as healthcare, all of those things can rise. And a degree of inflation is normal over time, but it's the reason why an item that cost $1 in the 1920s would cost about $18 today. So as prices increase, purchasing power consequently decreases. And it means that the value of our dollar is decreasing. Mm-hmm. And when you really start thinking about things like that, you can go down a rabbit hole if you'd like to, but and I don't want to, but it's concerning for all kinds of reasons. So I'll stop right there and see what have you noticed, Bailey, when it comes to inflation this year?
I really made an intentional effort this year to cook more at home. That was kind of one of our goals, especially with me being at home more. We're going to try to cook at home 4 or 5 days a week. On good weeks, we try to. We really do. And what I've noticed this year, that even though we have been intentional and we really have done that, you would think with not eating out as much, you would see a big cost savings and you would see a big difference in what you're paying for meals. And I'm really not seeing that at all. I'm not seeing a savings. Now, are we probably eating better food and healthier food for us? Yes. But have my costs and my prices gone down due to cooking more? No, they haven't. So that's what I'm noticing more than anything is I thought going into this year, we're going to cook more at home. We're going to save some money. We really haven't saved that much.
Yeah. I don't know if this is my excuse, but it almost feels like by the time you go out to eat at just a regular restaurant, by the time you go out to eat and pay for it, and you're not using any of your own dishes, or if you use paper goods, you're not using those, you're not having to run your dishwasher.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, I haven't done the math, and I don't know how you could do that exactly, but might be close to the same with electricity plus time that you spend cooking. And but yeah, it's crazy. And I remember, I think you mentioned in February on an episode about cooking at home, and it's just wild.
Yeah.
So the reason I think not everybody understands what causes inflation. And it is an increase in wages, increase in the price of raw materials, increase in taxes, decline in productivity, increase in money supply. And so as I say those things, you have to wonder, did we get to this place kind of when COVID hit, productivity went down. I had to do some research on this topic just because I had some questions, and then I don't know if that makes me a little bit ignorant in this subject, but I really truly wanted to know, why do we get to these places? How do we get to these places? Why is our country in this place? And it's the 5 main reasons that I found were increase in wages, increase in the price of raw materials, increase in taxes, a decline in productivity, and an increase in money supply. So it's back to what we just mentioned, the decrease in the value of our dollar. And during times like this, it's hard on many people's bank accounts. Not everybody is getting that increase in their wages. You look at lots of teachers all over the country. If you watch the news at all, there's always something about teachers. How do they provide? And if it's a single income household and that's the income, then they're struggling to make ends meet. And that's with a college education. And that is, with more than likely debt to pay back for college loans. So I think this time is difficult for many people financially.
Yeah, and I think it circles back to the pandemic. And I want to touch on that a little bit because I do think the pandemic, in a lot of different ways, has contributed to this, in that, like you said, people were at home, so that those labor shortages were there. People stopped production on things. So the supply of things were down. So people were willing to pay a higher price for the things they were getting, and some things stayed a higher price because people were paying that at that time. Even though things have picked up, cashing up from that long of a shutdown, I think really is going to take some time. And I don't know that some products and some things will ever level out again. They were talking about just even like certain products like meat and things like that probably won't go down. We've seen a decrease in the price of eggs. I've noticed that because they were pretty high for a while. But I think a lot of it, in many different ways, in labor shortages and the increase in the price of products, for sure, were affected by the pandemic. And then also, too, kind of like you said, people restarting their lives again, because a lot of people did lose their means of employment during that time. And so they've had to take time to gain back their employment. And some people's schedules have not gone back fully to what they were before. Some people went to a partially at home remote schedule, and they've stayed at a partially at home remote schedule. Some businesses have done that. So people are home, I do think, even more now than before the pandemic as well, which does also affect the supply or the need of goods and things like that too. So
if you think about a company that can be, maybe before the pandemic, they could work, or they worked out of a business. You know, it was maybe just a building with different offices, but that's where they did their work. Well, the pandemic hits, and suddenly they realize that everybody can work from home, and they don't have to pay rent, electricity. They don't have to pay for that building that they were using beforehand. So, I mean, it's all those little things, I think, that are good in ways and bad in ways. Good for the person that can stay at home maybe and work remotely, but for our economy, you don't have a business sitting in that building any longer. I think that people have to remember that when we are in times like this, that it is okay to cut back. It is, you don't have to keep living the same way you were 2 years ago, a year ago. You can live on less. And in America, I feel like we are just so focused on all of the material things, and we're all guilty of it to some extent. But goodness, like, think of our social studies lessons that we have done, Bailey, on wants and needs. And we don't need all of the things that we think we need. A lot of those needs are actually wants.
I'm sitting here thinking my husband can't listen to this episode because
Yeah, block him. Can you block people?
I don't know. He's
You are
going to
banned.
say, you said
Okay,
it's
cut this
okay to
part-
come.
Cut this part out. Just kidding.
I don't need to make this order on Amazon today.
That is one of the things that I was trying to look at on, like, resourceful ways of savings. And it said, the Google, the internet, said, it gave several different ways. And then, of course, I got on Pinterest, because usually you can find some pretty good ways to do almost anything you'd like to do. But one of the suggestions was to actually have several days in the week that are no spending days. And that means, you know, I guess get gas if you need gas, but try to do those things even before that day gets there. Try not to spend any money. Know what you're going to cook that day. Don't go out to eat. Don't make any online orders. Don't spend any money. And what you realize is, the moment you thought you needed that from Amazon or wherever you're ordering from, the next day you realize you've thought it through a little bit longer, and you think, okay, I don't need that. You have more time to think about it. And I'm that way a lot of times, especially if I keep my shopping cart, you know, with items in it. I'll go back and look and think, okay, what in the world? You know, remove.
Yeah.
I don't need that. I don't need that at all.
When my husband and I were younger, we used to call that a spending freeze. We would say, okay, we're going on a spending freeze. And we would freeze all the extraneous spending, and it was just needs. And truly, yeah, if you plan it, you can cut back a whole lot just in, I don't need the latte today. I don't need to order that thing that just popped in my mind at 3:00 in the morning that I thought I might want to get for myself or for the house or whatever. That those types of things can wait.
Or just because it's on sale, you've never thought about it before in your life, but it's 70% off. It doesn't mean you need to add it to your cart.
Yeah.
If you've never thought about it, probably don't need it. So I think we just have to think things through. Think about what we're purchasing. Is it needed? And then do have those days where you don't spend any money. But I think a thing that has hurt a lot of people is dipping into their savings.
Yeah.
And if they didn't have savings before, then they certainly don't have it now. They're
Right.
most likely. So, just looking at where is your savings? Is it in a savings account um, that earns dividends? What are you investing in? And that can be a really effective way to combat inflation. But I got one of those apps that tells me, like, if I was double subscribed. And I think there might have been one thing, maybe. But other than that, I was looking at all the TV options we have, like
Mm-hmm.
all the apps. And I ended up getting rid of a couple and started a different streaming service because it offered almost everything that all those separate ones
Right.
did. But I think the savings it wasn't a lot, like $25 a month maybe, but that adds
I
up.
mean, that is a,
Everywhere you can
yeah.
save. And then your electric bill. I did something impulsive, which is real shocking. But when I was walking through Sam's Club, we had been with a company for years, the same company, and our electricity bill was crazy high. And when I would call and say, we've been with you for a really long time, it was always like, I'm really sorry. This is just where we're at. And this is
Mm-hmm.
it's the cost we have to ask from you. So in Sam's one day, I stopped when one of those people said, "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute?" And it was weird. Normally I don't. And I was like, "Sure." They told me all about their company. And I want you to know it has dropped. Our bill has gone down on average like 65%.
Wow.
So it was worth it. And we get nights free. So that's also something I had to figure out. And I do try to wash clothes in the evening. I try to run my dishwasher at night. Anything that takes a lot of electricity, I try to do those things, and it does help. So
Shopping around is super important. And I think we all get so comfortable in what we're doing, we don't realize what is out there and what changes there are that we could make to improve because we are such creatures of habit. And so we just do it because we can, and we don't realize what's out there and what type of savings we could make. I actually have kind of noticed with like meat. So my husband's a hunter, and my son's a hunter. So we've gotten to where we do eat more meat that they've hunted. Um, Turn it into hamburger, and we can feed our family for a long time. But also we'll go to some of the more local meat markets either here or in some of the towns close by us, and you can really find a pretty good deal on meats and things like that there, and you're supporting your local economy. So I've really made a point to, rather than always go to the chain grocery stores to do our meat and our fresh things like that, and actually go to the source and get it from a more local place. So that's kind of something that I've done, that I've noticed that while it may not just be a huge savings or anything like that, you're still boosting the local economy, and you're helping those farmers and you're helping those ranchers out by buying their fresh things. And you can pretty much know where it's coming from when you're doing
yeah,
that as well. So,
and it's not pumped full of all of
mm-mm.
the hormones and the additives that you get from the chain supermarket. So
Yes.
that's awesome. My brother and his family like to do stuff like that. They eat what they
Mm-hmm.
shoot, and and have gotten pretty creative with some of those recipes. And so I think that's awesome. So with that, talking about grocery stores and buying food, looking at your services that you use at home, electric bill, what you're using to watch your TV, stuff like that. Basically, track your spending. That's what you need to do. You need to see where your money's going. And are you paying for a gym membership that you are not using? So that one is something, I think that's probably more common.
I bet
than
that's
not.
probably one of the most common. Yeah, I am not, but I do pay a subscription to Peloton, and I use it. I use it in spurts. Like I have a very motivated period of time, and then a extended period where I'm not quite so motivated to use it, even though it's here. But yeah, the gym membership is the big one. I think that it's hard to swallow your pride and let go of something like that. And two, it serves as accountability because you're paying that price. You need to use it. But yeah.
Yeah, you need to use it, but you also have some weights at home that you don't use, and you
Yeah.
have all the things, but you can get on your TV and get on YouTube and follow some health guru and do a workout in your living room
Yeah.
if you're really going to do it instead of paying for that gym membership.
True.
There's something else that if you're good about paying off your debt, or if you use a credit card, there's lots of programs, lots of incentives that using certain credit cards earn you points or give you cash back to do certain things with. So during times of inflation, it's a great way to pay for your vacation,
Absolutely.
your airline ticket, so that you don't have to take that out of pocket. And or hotel, you might get a hotel stay out of it. But you have to be the person that's responsible enough to go ahead and pay that off, immediately
Right.
as your bills still roll in, but use that credit card as the main payment of that. So
Right.
I think that's probably one of the smartest things that many people can do if they can
If you
take care of business.
Yeah, and that is if you'll do it in a responsible way, because it's very easy to fulfill wants with a credit card and start to get a little carried away with it. And although, yes, it is good for building up points and miles and things like that, it just has to be done in a responsible way because it's very easy and can very quickly get out of hand if you're not careful. Because I'm certain there's some sort of money guru or budget person out there that would probably say,
Disagree.
No, don't do that. I feel like for us, that has been something that has been huge, is the miles. And I don't know that we've paid out of pocket for a flight in a very long time. And that certainly does help when you're planning a vacation that's already an extra expense to your year anyway. And so that does help. And it helps because sometimes too we can help family and people get where they need to be with our points as well. And so, that is good. But I know from, experience and being younger that it's, as a young person, it's very easy to get swipe happy or get carried away with that card.
Right. And not understand the consequences.
Out of control very quickly. Yeah.
And another thing is if it's the points, if it's the every dollar spend, you get $1 back, something like that. Maybe people could use that towards their living.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
for sure,
get that budget all figured out and then use one of those programs, a credit card that has one of those programs, and get the money back and be able to use that towards your living expenses. Which brings me to the cost of living and housing in the state of Texas. I just looked at some towns near us for apartments in Odessa, Texas. This was a 2-bedroom is what I put in because I was thinking a family.
Yeah.
And say you're living in an apartment and maybe you're crammed in there, but you can't afford the 3-bedroom, right? So your apartment, the average rent is $1,250 per month. For a condo, it is $1,800 on average. And for a rental house, it is $2,000. And that's insanity to me, especially the last to rent a house. But when looking at Dallas, the apartments were around $2,200 for a 2-bedroom apartment. For a condo, $2,300, and for houses, $2,600. And when I did our area, it was almost the same as Odessa's. A little bit less on the house rental. I think it was like $1,800, $1,900, something like that. But as a kid who grew up the first part of my childhood living in rent houses, I don't know how people afford that.
Absolutely not. And especially if you're a one-income family, I don't know how you would make that work. And I guess that's why it is a bit of a crisis for some families right now. I even have had some friends who were both college educated, great jobs. They were having to jump to a different place and move because of the rent increase that was happening to them. And again, it's not the easiest process, especially depending on financial situations, to purchase a home. And so not everybody has that option available to them, because some people would say, well, that sounds like you could just purchase a house cheaper or easier, but not everybody is in the financial state that they can do something like that or qualify for something like that, because it's not easy, even, with a good status and good financials. It's not an easy process to buy a home.
No. And that's another thing. The prices of houses when you're buying is insane. I know someone that's building a house right now, and the cost per square foot is $178.
Yeah.
I mean,
believe it.
That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy to me. So I was looking up if a single person was trying to get by. So that's just them, no family, just one person, single, what they would need to earn salary-wise on average in the United States to get by. And that is $57,200. That's a single person.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I am dumbfounded because of what I know educators make and where they start off making, and places like the state of New York, what the cost of living is there and the cost of living is in California, and what those teachers are making is not enough to survive in the states that they live in. And somebody might say, the simple fix is they need to move. That's not always okay. Great. With what money? There's not always money there. These things are just part of life, and it's crazy. But that's one person. So if you think about how many families live off of $57,200 and there's 3 kids and 2 parents. And that means they are scraping by. You've got school lunches, even if you're on a reduced price lunch, right? You've got school supplies. Yes, you can use those programs that offer school supplies. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do. I'm just looking at it through the lens of how can they survive? I mean, it's just, I think it's terrible. It makes me really sad. So in the state of Hawaii, this is the living wage. So that means what it takes to live and still be able to, I think it's you pay your cost of living, 50% of your salary goes to that. And then 30 goes to entertainment.
Right.
And then 20 goes to savings or something like that. Hawaii is 112,411. California, actually Massachusetts was 49th at 87,909 in California, 80,000, and New York was roughly 73,000.
Wow.
I just think it's crazy. I think about so many people that I know, and I haven't stopped to really think that it might not be a dream right now.
No. And I just think about how many years I worked to not even reach any of these levels that you're talking about right now. And would never. If you look at, the step raises for teachers, and even after working at a job for 35 or 40 years, they're still not making those top numbers of what you need to survive in our economy right now. So that's very difficult too. And the shortage of teachers is happening, and a lot of it has to deal with that.
I think having that mindset of, you go into college is absolutely, you have to go to college or to university. I think people need to remember those are big decisions. And if an 18-year-old or a 17-year-old, 19-year-old doesn't know what they want to do you want to invest in college if they can find what they want to do without spending all of that money or getting into that debt and making just as much or more? And I say that I love education. I think it's important, but it doesn't always have to be the traditional route.
I was raised and am of the opinion that, higher ed is important in some way. It can be trade related in any way, shape, or form. I think it is important to pick a path past high school graduation and become educated in that path, even if it's not a college degree. But to the same effect, it is getting to a point that tuition rates are keeping people from doing those things. People can, especially in our area, go straight out of school and go into the oil industry and make as much as they could with a college degree in some cases, depending on how long they're at the job. Around here, we see such a decrease in employees in the service related industries because of that. And we are seeing businesses and things like that suffer or go out of business due to the fact that they simply don't have employees that can work for them. So in our area, I feel like that is a big contributing factor to businesses not surviving or businesses having to take their rates up because they're having to pay higher wages so that they can get employees because they are having such a difficult time getting and retaining employees because of the industry around us. And so that's really contributing to some of the inflation around here too, I think.
It's funny you say that. I talked to somebody here in town not too long ago, and one of their biggest problems has been employees. And this isn't every young person, but lots of young people want these these jobs that they think are going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have work ethic because they
Mm-hmm.
haven't learned it. Nobody has helped them learn it. Maybe they haven't had that support system at home to talk to them about, the responsibilities
Mm-hmm.
of holding a job and what that means, and respecting people, and
Mm-hmm.
just being somebody with integrity when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that you're doing. And so these people that I was talking to, they said, we refuse to hire anybody that is under the age of 30, something like that, because they need mature, not that every 30-year-old and above is mature, but mature, responsible adults. Well, when you get those people that are older, well, guess what? Their living
Higher
expenses,
salary.
they need a higher salary. So it's a big, crazy mess, I think. And I think
Mm-hmm.
as parents, we can use this topic, this conversation right here, to remind our kids that when they do get a job, doesn't matter what their first job is, when they get it, they need to take it serious. And
Mm-hmm.
just because they have a voice, I know that we live in 2024 and everybody has a voice. Yes, I understand that you want to speak up if something bad is going on, or something wrong is happening.
Mm-hmm.
But just because you have a voice doesn't mean you should talk back to adults and tell them what you want from your job.
Mm-hmm.
It should be that this is your job and they're giving you an opportunity and you have to start somewhere.
Right. Entry level is an important thing to businesses. And if they don't have those entry level employees, they don't have anybody that can learn the trade or learn the business and grow the business. And like you said, if their entry level employees are really not entry level, then the cost of everything is going to begin to rise. And those people can demand a little bit more because of their experiences and because the company needs them. They'll probably pay it, but then it will cause prices and things to increase as well. So I think there's so many contributing factors to inflation, whether it be a local business or your chain businesses and things like that. But kind of like you said earlier, I have to probably start holding myself more accountable to making better choices and not clicking add to cart
Yes.
so often.
Yes. And I know we didn't touch on this. I mean, we just barely touched on this topic, but I think the point is that we are in a time of inflation. Everybody knows that, should know that if you've looked at the prices of anything around you. There are ways to save. I'm going to put some links to some free printout budget sheets on the different pages that we have, and just some different articles that I found interesting and that maybe could be helpful. And
Mhm.
I am going to do some no spending days.
I like
Another
that idea.
challenge.
Again, we used to do them. We used to go on spending freezes when we were younger and, knew we were being a little bit
Yes.
compulsive with what we were doing. And I just think that for any budget, for anybody, doing a
Yeah.
little spending freeze or putting it on hold a little bit will help tremendously, because you don't want to, even if you're not in that situation right now, if things are only going to increase, you just never know what's going to happen. Or, like I said, we have a girl going to college in 2 years and have to think about what that's going to entail for us. And so, yeah, those things are going to have to be budgeted for. And college is only increasing in price, I feel like. And even in 2 years, it'll be different than it is now. So we gotta
And one other
work
thing.
on it.
Yeah, we all do. This applies to everybody.
Yes.
We don't want to keep accumulating things either. We don't get to
No.
take them with us. And that's a good reminder. When we leave this earth, when God has decided our days are done, everything that is accumulated that you haven't gone through, somebody else is going to have to go through. So don't do that.
My poor kids.
Yeah. Don't be a hoarder. Throw the stuff away, give it away, donate it, but don't accumulate. We don't need more stuff.
Can I record that really quick so that I can have it on repeat? You don't need this stuff. Don't be a hoarder. Don't buy it.
Yeah.
Do not add to cart.
Stop what you're doing now. People will see after you're dead. Oh, I'm going to go clean out some stuff immediately. And I'm going to do 3 no spending days a week.
Ooh.
3. Trace.
So you're going to pre-plan meals those days too? Like not spending on food or anything?
Yes. No, I'm not going to Sonic to get my Coke.
Okay.
On the other days, I pledge to go to my favorite drink places only during happy hour. You heard
all
it.
All of them on the same day?
Maybe. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to be hydrated. Okay. Well, save your money. Think about it. Do you need it? Do you want it? Is it necessary? Shop around for all the different things that you could need. Shop around for different electric companies, different health benefits. Do you have insurance that you don't use that, when it comes around time to re-enroll or change your benefits? Is there something that you don't ever use, but you constantly have it and it's extra $30 a month? Just think those things through, write them out, and we can still save money and do better during inflation.
Whew. That's scary.
Scary.
But it's needed. So
yeah.
I don't know if I can do 3 days a week, but I can start with 2.
Okay. All right, I'm scaling mine back to 2.
You said 3.
I know, I'm scaling it back. I want to be like you.
I just think I know myself, and yeah, I actually am okay at being frugal. My husband doesn't spend a lot on like necessities and things like that, but he will make big purchases that then he'll tell me about them later. So that's going to be the I know. That's going to be the hard part about a spending freeze, is that honing that in. And he'll listen to this and
real quick. My husband said like 2 days ago, he said, "What is that?" to something in the house. And I was like, I don't know. Oh. And he said, I mean, how long have we had that? And I said, we've had it forever. And he said, every time I ask a question about something, I get the same response. We've had it forever.
You didn't notice it?
Yeah. We've had that couch for 15 years. Just kidding. It wasn't the couch. But yeah, no, I'm going to scale back. So, and I'm still strumming the guitar. So just letting you know. I'm going to have man hands because I'm getting calluses on my fingertips. So that's going to be attractive, soft. I can exfoliate my face with my fingertips.
Do you know any songs, or are you just doing chords?
I'm still just doing chords, but I have recorded myself doing some crazy songs and sending a few out with the same 2-chord. Yeah.
Just wait. The hits are coming.
Just wait. They're coming. They're piling up. Okay. Thanks for falling into 40 with us. Please come back. And we hope you have a great day. You're not alone. whether you're falling, jumping, hopping, skipping, walking, into 40, past 40, or not even close. Whichever it is,
Yes.
come back and join us.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you for tuning in with us on today's episode of Falling into 40. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts.